Story number one this weekend. Well, it's not a story. Big fight this weekend. Dillian Whyte, Povetkin. What do you think?
It's, Rich, you know what? I'm looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. I think they've labelled it anti-maximum violence, and I think at some point in that fight, it's going to end up a tear up in the middle of the ring. I think it's going to be a battle of the left hookers, mate. It's both have got a fantastic left hook. Do you know what, Rich? It's hard. Like, I think we've said this before. If we was talking about this a few years ago, I know my money would be on, but I just believe the timing's right. He looks in great shape, much better than obviously December, which took at short notice. I won't be surprised if both men are hurt, but I see at some points around 6 to 7 rounds, Dillian Whyte landing with a big left hook, putting Povetkin over, he gets up and then he ends up stopping him on the ropes. That's what I think. But I think it'll be an entertaining 6, 7 rounds.
Yeah, I saw somebody put up the other day with like a fans forum thing saying, they think it's 70-30 for Dillian Whyte. And I don't think it's that nailed on.
No.
Not against somebody in Povetkin's class.
No, listen, you've got to remember, and Povetkin, I know he wasn't great against Michael Hunter. However, Michael Hunter's a very good fighter. He's lost one Usyk. He's an hard night's work. You'd back him against most heavyweights. I think stylistically, all wrong for Povetkin. But Povetkin's not going to have to go looking for Dillian Whyte the way that he did Michael Hunter. But I believe that Dillian lands that left hook at some point in the fight around the halfway stage. I reckon, 7 rounds, I reckon he's inside. But I wouldn't be surprised if he touches the camera and gets hurt himself. Yeah,
if I had to lean either way at the minute, only thing is like we said, it's age, and in it. If he were another few years younger, I'd lean heavily to Povetkin because Dillian doesn't disguise what he's going to do that well, does he? He just does it. And when you think of how well schooled and how clever Povetkin is he going to be smart enough to catch him with left hook?
That's true, and I think maybe when the pace slows down, he'll have a better chance. But early on, you think it's going to be tough. But I remember I was ringside when Povetkin beat Yuri Fury, and I know stylistically they're much different, but I remember it being close, very close. First half of the fight, I was there watching Yuri and wanting Yuri to win. But Povetkin, he surprised me the second half of the fight. I thought, the older man, he won't have the legs and that, and he finished really strong and won the fight like that. So I don't know, we might be in for a shock in that sense of things. But I definitely find entertaining fight. There's going to be some big shots landed from both.
Yeah, I agree. I think we could see both of them on the floor, couldn't we?
Definitely. You've got to remember the trouble that Povetkin was giving AJ a lot of trouble. Do you know, early on?
Yeah, he busted his nose. Busted his nose. And look, let's be honest, that Michael Hunter, I think he were up for one of the proposed opponents for AJ when he ended up boxing Ruiz and they didn't swear. I'm not saying swear, but nobody fancied boxing.
No, not at all. And still
Hunters, it's no disgrace, is it? It's not like it's a terrible result.
Not at all. He's lost once. He lost once to Usyk.
Yeah. So good fight. So you're going Dillian Whyte. I'm going to lean towards the Russian motherland. I just think experience might tell in this one. At the higher level, he's operated at a high level.
It might do. You know what, Rich? When you think about it, Beijing Povetkin wins Olympic gold. That's 12 years ago. He's been around a long time. But you've got to remember, Dillian had a very, very limited amateur, experience. I know he's been involved in the Thai boxing, the kickboxing, and been involved in the MMA and stuff. But for levels in boxing, massive. I just believe the timing's right, but it's not the most confident pick. But I fancy Dillian inside the distance just after the halfway stage.
Right, I'm going opposite Crawler. We'll catch up next week. Who's got it right? Fight number 2, Taylor Pursuit.
Yes. I'm a bit more confident with this. I was at the first fight. I don't know if I've probably said it on the show. And it was so close you couldn't... Listen, a lot of people there thought that Pursuit done enough. Joe thought that Pursuit done enough to get the win.
I'll be honest. I thought she won. I thought she was really unlucky not to get it.
Yeah, I thought, Rich, honestly, I thought that it was very close. Very, very close. There's some people saying, she was robbed. I don't believe she was robbed, but she easily, could have got it. But honestly, Rich, I've never seen... listen, I don't think anyone likes losing a fight, but the girl was inconsolable. I'm talking after the fight straight away, and then, you know, an hour or 2 hours, you know, when you're still in the building, like sobbing, and then she's stopping in the same hotel as us because over there with Callum Smith, who was fighting the Dam, stopping in the same hotel. Rich, this must have been 4 or 5 hours after. I mean, like, I'm talking heartbroke. Like,
well, that tells you the story. She believes she won.
Honestly, she does. And I was at the weigh-in. And I remember thinking, have I heard that right? And she weighed into like half a pound over the weight below. So just inside the limit, you know, the lightest she could be. And she said, like, she's saying the right things in interviews this week about coming in too light and stuff like that. I just believe, you know, I'm a big Katie Taylor fan. I believe that she's going to box smarter this time. I don't think we'll see the thrills of the first fight. I hope I'm wrong because it was a brilliant, brilliant fight. But I think we're going to see a much more disciplined and controlled performance from Katie Taylor. And I think she wins on points, wide on points, possibly as pursuing trouble late on. But like I say, I don't know. I know she has had a little bit of notice, but she might not have as much notice as the first time. But I'm like I say, I'm looking forward to it. If it's anything like the first fight, we're in for a treat. But I think Katie wins a lot clearer this time.
I think Taylor will win, but I still think it'll be pretty close.
Yeah.
I think it'll still be pretty close, but like you, I think she'll win. And like what you're saying about how upset she were, it kind of tells her heart she believes she absolutely won that.
It's
so
inconsolable. I'm telling you.
Got stuck into each other, and sometimes you might not be in a rush to do that again. So I think it might be a bit cagey. I think Katie will get it, but I think it might be pretty close.
Close again. Now we'll see. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that fight probably the most on the card, to be honest.
So number 3, and this is interesting for you. This was just recently retired.
Yeah.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Mike Tyson, Roy Jones. It's delayed. The comeback of comebacks. What's happened?
I don't know. I hope. Hopefully we don't see it gets delayed.
You were going to say delayed forever then.
Yes, I was. I just, like we've said many a times on the show, it's great to see Mike Tyson looking as healthy as he's looked in years. It's great seeing him hit pads, but I'd rather it just be seeing him hit pads rather than, you know, an exhibition bout. I know Jones, I've not read it, but I know he's threatened to pull out or something. I just, like I say, I don't see what good can come out of it.
Yeah.
Say that again, Rich, sorry.
He wants some more money now because it's delayed. Yeah. Not more money, not going to do it. So it just all sounds like it's a bit built on sand, doesn't it?
The only thing, like, I think good that could come out of it if there's a charity involved and a lot of money goes to that. But other than that, I'd rather not see it.
Yeah, see what happens. So September to November now. And, you know,
yeah.
I think it's possible that they announced it, did it all, to see what interest they were and try and gauge how many people would pay for it. And maybe it weren't as positive as they thought. And so the people who were going to back backwards.
Possibly, Rich. And the other one was as well. It was originally the same night. I mean, I know it looks like there's issues going on outside the ring. Canelo was the date that he was looking at, and obviously it was taken serious because you wouldn't, as long as he's listening, I'd much rather be seeing the biggest name in the sport probably in Canelo fighting than Roy Jones and Mike Tyson in exhibition. But as for casuals and numbers that would affect the pay-per-view, it would affect it massively. So whether there was rumour at first that was the reason the date got put back, wasn't it? Yeah. I think it seems there's something going on outside the ring, but possibly to judge the reaction to see if it is worth doing.
So do you think I'm 50-50 now if it happens at all? What do you reckon?
I don't know if it happens either. I probably lean towards it not happening now, and hopefully that's the case, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll watch. We'll see what happens. What'll happen for next week. So number 4, talking of comebacks, 47-year-old, year younger than me, but not as good on bike as me. Oscar De La Hoya says he's coming back for a fight.
Yeah. I think my reaction sort of says it all. I seen it and you didn't know whether how much truth there was to it. He's saying all the right things, and do you know, I've only read a little bit, and Oscar saying his jab feels is as faster than it's ever been, and how he can say that, I have no idea. Again, you know, when you're talking about Tyson and Jones Jr. fighting, I think for me, although he's younger, for me, it might be more worrying because of the names that he's calling out.
Yeah. And he's not a guy who's had an easy retirement, has he? He's had his ups and downs and his problems, and he's not had an easy time, Rich.
That's the other thing, Rich. Listen, we're in no position to judge people's lives, but it's been well documented the troubles that he's had. He's one of the biggest promoters in the world. He's got an unbelievable, legacy, and again, absolutely nothing good can come out of it. The only thing I don't ever respect or it's like crazy is the names he's calling out. He's not after an easy touch. Not after an easy touch.
But that's a bit, and I think that's a bit delusional. It's like you were leaving it 12 years now, and then whoever are really good international level kids are just saying, I'm coming back for a couple of fights and I want Fred, Joe and Bob. It's just nuts.
If he means it, then it's a little bit worrying. It is a little bit worrying, but I think for me as well, what's a bit scary is the amount of fighters as well who want to fight him. Do you know what?
Today, have you seen who's called him out today?
I've seen and listen, I really like him here with a mate and that, but I just thought hopefully someone else is controlling the social media. But like Charlo, stuff like that, like, brilliant fighters, the top fighters in the game, and I'm thinking just stop. It's if Oscar's gonna come back, I just listen. I hope he doesn't. I hope it is just a crazy sort of time or a bit of publicity, or just a bit of a wind up. I don't know. Nothing good can come out of that.
It's hard, isn't it? It's difficult for anyone, but eventually you've got to let it go, haven't you?
Without a doubt.
We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't happen and he changes his mind. But you just wonder if Jones and Tyson ends up happening, then De La Hoya does it, and who's coming next? Who's going to? You know what I mean? Where do you draw a line? Where does it stop?
Yeah. It does. It just becomes a circus. And I hope that we really don't see it. But there does seem to be a little bit of truth behind it. Hopefully, like say, it gets some senses seen, and it doesn't happen.
Yeah, we'll see. Number 5, we've got to talk about him. You just said superstar of boxing, Canelo Alvarez.
Yes.
Wins the WBC to fight for vacant title because Benavidez loses it on scales, and he's been put it together and voted 36-1. I would like to know what happened to one who voted against it. He's not been seen since.
It's mad. It's mad, isn't it, Rich? And I mean, not just. Obviously, me from sort of a selfish point of view of being over there with Callum, we've got the Canelo fight. But it's just even if Callum didn't get it, I know boxing doesn't work like that, but there's a lot more deserving fighters of having that fight. And again, I don't want to speak too much out of turn, but how Yildirim's mandatory since he lost to Eubank, obviously. Yeah. And listen, I know better than anyone how you can rebuild after a feedback, and then he lost to Durrell, didn't he? Yeah. He had a win of, against not great opposition. How he's become mandatory, I can't really understand that, to be honest. So, like you say, I can't. Again, I've said this about a few times tonight. I can't make out one how he's become mandatory, and two how 36-1 voted in favour of Canelo and Yildirim, and I think we're going to get onto it now. But whether the fight happens or not, we mentioned it just before. Problems with DAZN, whether it's Golden Boy, Canelo. There's definitely something that's not right there within the camp with all parties. DAZN, it was well documented the amount of money. The contracts, the best contract in boxing scene, they handed out to Canelo. Again, no disrespect. They didn't plan on paying that kind of money to see him fight Yildirim.
No.
So, they're supposedly, I think I'm right in saying, have they knocked it back?
I don't think anything official is being said, but the word like kind of dogs on the street are saying that they're going to knock it back. But it sounds easy, doesn't it? Oh, they'll just knock it back. But then what happens?
Well, that's it. So
if you don't accept it, you can see Canelo not boxing before Christmas.
Well, that's it. Yeah, if he doesn't, he won't box this year, will he? So I think it's an hard one, like you say. I think there's only, like you say, they spent massive money on him, but I think before the pandemic and all that, it was almost known that everyone, keeps winning or wins the fights before we was going to see the third match with Golovkin. So I think that's what they paid the big money for, didn't they?
Yeah, it's you've got to, in a way, you've got to feel sorry for DAZN because you can kind of tell things between Canelo and Golden Boy obviously aren't great, are they?
Yeah.
Canelo, you can tell they're not great. Dogs on street can see that. Canelo's even said it, Annie, he doesn't respect Oscar. Yeah. So things aren't great between them. They've obviously got no kind of control other than promotional rights over to Canelo to say this is who you're boxing. So you've got DAZN, using a football term, and DAZN have played for a game of football and they're getting Man United against Liverpool, but they're actually getting Man United against Doncaster Rovers.
Mate, you took the words out of my mouth. No disrespect to Doncaster, but yeah,
we're big Donny Rovers fans, but you can't. It just doesn't add up, does it? Even in simple
not fallen.
Man U Liverpool, you don't want Man U against Chesterfield or Donny. It just doesn't add up.
It's the money that they've obviously threw about as well. Again, it's something like you might just be out there investing. It might not be that accurate, but it's around, is it 33, 35 million?
35 fights, $350 million.
For that kind of money, they want the best fight that can be made in the sport for Canelo, and Yildirim certainly isn't that. Listen, he might shock us, give a great account of himself, but you just imagine it would be over pretty early, because I think you've got to remember with Yildirim as well. With Eubank Jr., like, it was exciting to watch.
It starts you, man.
Yeah, they only ever looked like one winner.
Yeah.
And I'm a Eubank Jr. fan, but I mean, you're thinking if Junior can do it, you've got to fancy Canelo to do the same, if not quicker.
Yeah. I don't know what you like. Maybe look too deep at things, but you think, is Canelo trying to crush Golden Boy with his own? A Golden Boy trying to starve DAZN into doing what they want him to do? It's just like three people are pulling on a piece of rope all in an opposite direction, aren't they? So what happens?
Yeah. Like I say, the relationship's not great there between the three of them. Like I said, hopefully something gets sorted. The fight boxing didn't want to see was Canelo versus Yildirim. So we'll see what happens. And like I say, all we can do now is just sit back and see. And it's not.
You're Sam Stock and you're Callum Smith, who obviously you're close to. John Ryder got an argument. Joe won't like it, but got an argument. He beat Callum, or maybe got a draw with him, whatever. Billy Joe Saunders. You've got kids like that all sat, and they've skipped over all that and gone to you.
You've mentioned
WBC have said we didn't make the fight. They approached us to make it. Golden Boy. So where
that confuses you even more, doesn't it? But I think you just mentioned the three fights there, whether it be Callum Ryder or Billy Joe. On paper, they're all much better, more competitive.
They're more competitive and they're more deserving, aren't they?
Yeah, and more deserving. Yeah, definitely.
So we'll see what happens. But I mean, we've been. And how many weeks have me and you been saying that? We'll be able to say something next week. Surely it'll be sorted next week. Nothing.
It's not going to be like, say, Canelo now. You imagine it's going to be October, November, don't you? It's if it gets sorted.
Yeah, if it's Yildirim, it might be then. But if it ain't him and DAZN say no, I mean, if they say no, you can imagine.
It's going to be a standoff. Yeah, there's going to be a standoff.
It's going to go bananas, isn't it? And you just wonder where it'll end up. So maybe next week we'll know more. Maybe won't know more, but we'll see. We'll see. Number 6, and this is a bit of a sad one today, I thought, for our pal Lee Selby. Ed handed Perspid back in for that Kambosos fight.
Yes, I seen that, and listen, you've got to respect the decision of Kambosos because he's agreed to fight, and I know there is a big pandemic, but obviously he feels it's not worth, he's worth more than to come over of the purse that's now been offered. I don't know what it is, but it's obviously less. And
he was saying 150 and then he wants to cut it to 100 or something, don't they? So they're saying it's for $150,000 and he's cut it to 100.
Yeah. So it's a third of the purse. It's a third off the purse. I'm sure he's got advisors. I'm sure. Do you know what? I was going to say Lou DiBella is recording.
Yeah.
So listen, if they put it back out to purse bids, then they're either bluffing or they're going to bid more. So it might work out a good thing. It might work out a good thing for Kambosos. I hope it happens. Because I think it's a fantastic fight. We were speaking to Lee not long back. Kambosos we knew about for a long time now. And this will tell us a lot more about him. I mean, from our point of view, we hope Lee does the job. But
I was sad when I saw it because I thought, I know he's been training, I know he's been on it. He's probably really kind of like, I'm not saying it's his last chance, but it's his. He's getting there where he needs to take it, and then it's been put back. So and if it goes to bids and they win or they lose, when's it put back to?
Was it due to take place October?
Yeah.
So all the thing you've got to hope for now is it takes place before the end of the year.
Yeah, we hope so. Fingers crossed for Lee. We'll watch that, see what happens next week. Number 7, another purse bid looked like it had fell through, but didn't go to purse bids. Paul Campbell, Ryan Garcia. Last week they said it's a done deal and it's all on. This week, yesterday they said it's not all on and it's not a done deal and we're going to purse bids. And then next minute they said, "Oh, we've done deal again," but there's no details at deal.
No.
So again,
that's going to take place in America.
Is that? Yeah, I think so. But is that again? Is it Golden Boy and Garcia? Who they've not got a great relationship either. So is he tap dancing around?
Is it part of the Canelo camp? You don't know. But we was actually talking about this last night with the lads, and we was thinking who's going to win this purse bid because obviously there's no denying Garcia is a superstar, isn't it? He's a superstar, not just because he's got the big social media following, although that really helps. He's very, very popular over there. Luke's very big over here, but you couldn't imagine Golden Boy losing that purse bid because they want to put it on. But then at the same time, do they think, if the argument's there, do they think, well, go on then, we'll see what happens? I don't know. Do they lose the patience? But I think it's going to take place in America, which is expected. I think whoever wins it, whoever's won it, we don't know who's won it, do we? Or who's going to host the show.
They're saying they've reached another agreement, but they're saying same as they said last week. So,
all has been told is that it's taking place in America.
Yeah,
so, we'll see. But I'm glad we've said it before, and hopefully it does still happen. I'm really glad it's happening. I think it's a fantastic fight to be made. It tells us a lot about Garcia, and if Luke does it, it's a massive win for his profile as well. When it gets to the world title shot.
Yeah, well, you know me, and I love a conspiracy. And when I saw that had gone back out, I just thought, is this tied into this Canelo situation? They don't get on well with Garcia.
Could they though? Couldn't they? He's part of the camp and stuff.
Are they offering him money and saying, this is what we'll get you for that fight? And he's saying, no, I want this, I want that. You just don't know, do you? It's just, I don't know. Hopefully it happens. It's a big opportunity for Luke. You're going to box Garcia, I think. Now's whether you're going to find out if it's real or not.
Definitely, and I was going to say, and from what I've seen around Garcia, I do like him. I like him a lot. But then, you look at the other champions. We're talking about this as well. Your Lomachenko, who's already boxed. Lopez, who's now fighting Lomachenko. Heine. Yeah. Then you've got Cavante Davis, who's just moved up.
Yeah, there's some tough names there.
You'd probably find, being honest, on paper, you think Garcia would be the easiest fight, and he'd get paid possibly the best for it as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Paid possibly the best for it, as mad as that sounds. So I think it's a great fight for Luke. But like I say, I'm glad it looks to be happening still at least, but we don't know any more details other than November and in America.
Yeah, fingers crossed we've got a date for next week. So, and number 8, Kell Brook says he's getting close to Terence Crawford and calling out Terence Crawford. But also interestingly this week, Thurman's put out that he wants to box Crawford, 7-year contract. And then shock of shock, featherweight Gary Russell, he says he'll box Crawford.
I've seen it. They're meant to send a legit offer, aren't they? Listen, I think Gary Russell's a quality fighter. Yeah. I certainly wouldn't put him in with Terence Crawford, but I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on there, but obviously the Furman fight, that's always going to be a big one for Crawford. Kell, it's been talked about quite a bit now with Kell, hasn't it? And Crawford.
For months, haven't we? He's been chasing it.
For months, and listen, we all know what we'd like to happen, but there's one bigger worry, well, more than one worry, like with a fighter as classy as Terence Crawford, but the weight's always going to be a big issue. How does Kell perform? How does Kell make that weight? Never mind perform at it. But
I don't think it's for that reason you're saying. I just think, how is he going to physically make that weight and perform it?
It's one thing making it, isn't it? It's fighting again at that point.
He's a pal. He lives in Sheffield. He's a pal of mine. I want him to win, but I just think health-wise, how are you going to make that weight now and perform at that weight?
Perform at it, but then perform against one of the best pound-for-pound boxers in the world. It's a huge ask, isn't it?
Yeah, I hope. Look, I don't think Furman will probably happen. And I think there's a lot of questions about, when can Brits go to America to box, when are Americans going to be coming here to box? I think even though they say Kell's getting closer and Kell's calling for it, I don't think it's quite there yet, Deal.
No, I don't. And listen, I think we both liking Kell. We'd like him to get that big fight, but we'd like it at light middleweight. But listen, we'll see. Like, it's all right saying that, but we don't know what it's going to be like about Brits going over to the US. And stuff like that, but they're talking about it. And they have been doing for a long time. So,
when you see that today, and you've got Kell calling out Crawford and Amir calling out De La Hoya, and nobody can travel, you think, why don't you two just meet up and get it? Why don't you just?
Yeah, I don't think we've said this a few times. I don't think we're ever going to see it. Never going to see it.
That beard on that little bit of a goatee of yours will be Snow White big time. That might happen.
And they still want a box.
Yeah, and it still won't have happened yet. Number 9, David Benavidez. Sad one for me because he's one of my favourites. Lost his title on scales.
Yeah, he's your number 1 at the weight, isn't he, Rich? And there's no denying he can really fight. And he's said since about he's going to stay at super middle. He just needs to clean his diet up. But it's sad now because he's had a few chances, hasn't he? And he's young and he can.
And he still looked great, didn't he? He still looked great on that.
There's nothing wrong with his performance. But I think he's one of them, isn't he? It's frustrating. It's super frustrating. He's not going to reach his, fulfill his full potential if he keeps sort of, I don't know about living or his diet or whatever, but did he put between 25, 28 pounds on?
I think his dad said between 22 or 24 pounds or something like that.
Right, yeah. So they're thereabouts. So say it's 24. Yeah. That's a huge amount of weight, isn't it? And
isn't it?
You half knew he was going to put something ridiculous on when you seen him at the weigh-in.
Yeah. But there were no conditions on him, man, were there? Even at weigh-in, he just looked soft, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I just think you'd see him at the weigh-in and the opponent would think, I fancy my chances, but he gets in. You've seen it so many times, Rich. I have. You see fighters at the weigh-in, and the next day it looks like the big brother or something. They look different fighters, and that's how he looked on the night. I'm not saying, listen, he didn't all of a sudden develop an hardness to his body, but it looked much, much bigger.
Yeah, it was just disappointing to see. Like, look, I don't make any secret. I know you do as well, but I really rate. I think he's probably not. You could see him. He had that ban for cocaine. He had a bit of a blip there. He's come back, got world title. And then you're talking about him in these big fights, and then he loses it like that. You just think, what are you? Somebody needs to get hold of him and give him a shake, don't they? One way. He's doing Interesting. UFC put him at number 1 at light heavyweight next day, didn't they?
Yeah.
He's super middleweight. So
middleweight, and there's some great fights. He's big enough to go up to light heavyweight, obviously, but you just wish now, like say, someone needs to get a grip from him before it happens again, and then he runs out of chances.
It ends up being a waste. So here's a good, interesting one for number 10, Anne. I'm sure the Lord High Executioner, Chopper Tony Bellew, he's become a consultant about a new weight division between between cruiserweight and
heavyweight.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I seen that. I seen that.
Or,
And I
also,
do think,
or is it between light heavy and cruiser? I
well,
can't
I think
remember.
it's between light heavy and
Light
cruiser,
heavy
isn't
and cruiser, yeah.
it? Light heavy and cruiser. And listen, I think that the gap is too big. So I think that it's a, I think something needed doing with that gap. It was, from 12-7 to 14-4. You've got fighters dieting down 16, 17 stone, and then fighters who are natural 13 stone fighters. You know what I mean? It's a big, big difference, isn't it? I know people give more titles, more weight stick, but to be honest, I don't. I welcome that one. I do welcome that one.
You want to see that, then you'd like to see it
Yeah,
happen.
I'd welcome it. Yeah, I'd welcome it. I would. But I mean, and then I suppose people will go, well, there's still people boiling themselves down. But I do believe that gap's a big one. I do believe the gap of nearly, it's 25 pound. It is, isn't it? I think it's too big.
Yeah. But like you just mentioned, then you're talking another 4 world champions, plus
Yes.
4 franchise champions, 4 gold champions, 4 silver, 4 interim. You're going to have another 12 world champions. Kids call themselves.
It becomes stupid, doesn't it? It becomes stupid. But I think that I'm happy with seeing it.
Yeah, be good, interesting anyway. If Bellew comes up with a plan and anyone disagrees, won't it? He'll be having public floggings.
It'd be great listening to him. It'd be great listening to him.
So number 11 at weekend, Carl Frampton got a win. Sets
Yeah.
up the fight with Jamal Herring. That's what they're saying. That's next. What do you think?
I hope it happens. I would have much rather it happened in Ireland. I think we've said that before. However, because of what's going on in the world, that looks very unlikely. But I think, like you say, Carl, listen, first of all, I think you've got to give respect to Darren Trainor, the opponent.
Yeah, he jumped it up, didn't he?
He earned whatever he was paid that night. He gave a great account of himself. Listen, there was only one winner, and Carl picked out some lovely body shots. But he gave a good account of himself. He could have gone earlier, and I think now, like you say, now Carl wants that third world title, that third different weight. We will we'll see now. Hopefully that can be made. I know Jamal Herring, he said he'd love that fight. It's a fight between 2 good guys and 2 top fighters. So of course, I hope we see that later in the year.
If it ends up somewhere with no crowd or in America, I think I'll favour Herring. I think if it had been in Ireland with a big crowd roaring call on, that could have been like his last big.
Carl, I think Carl's shown before he's dealt with that pressure, hasn't he? Yeah. He's dealt with that pressure. But saying that said, when we were speaking to Jamal Herring, he was mad to do it, wasn't he? He was certainly didn't seem intimidating. And I think if you look at his life, I don't think he's going to be intimidated by an hostile crowd, is he? So, hopefully by the time, we don't know what's going to happen. I've been saying this for a while now, but hopefully we do get to see it in front of a live gate, and there'll be some atmosphere.
Be a great fight, won't it? But I'm probably, early call from me is I'm the lean towards Herring, I think.
With the recent form.
Yeah. I just think I think Carl's coming towards, like I say, in Ireland with a big crowd behind him. That could be the last thing that rolls him on me.
Massive, and you would feel like, I'm not saying he needs it because Carl's a quality fighter, but I think everyone deserves it. Both fighters deserve a live crowd, don't they? But the crowd would certainly benefit Carl more than Jamal.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed it gets made quickly there. Last tonight, number 12. This is an interesting one, and this is on tonight. So we've got to get this one up quick.
Yep.
IBF are ruling on whether or not to grant Josh Warrington an exception to skip his mandatory against Galahad.
Right. So
Eddie and Warren have put in Eddie and Warrington have put in for an exception to skip Galahad, and obviously Galahad's fighting that. So we'll know in the next few days what they've agreed.
We'll see what happens. I know the IBF, to be fair to them, they do force the mandatories, don't they? I think Josh might get it granted, because they didn't box actually that long ago, did they? That could be the difference in it. But obviously, Kid Galahad's not going to want to take that line down, so he is going to try and fight it. But in being honest, Rich, as well, if you was looking after Josh, and Josh is a proper fighter, so I think he just wants to try and prove he's the best in the division, but you're not going to be mad to fight Keith Galahad again. Listen, I said the first fight was really close. I thought Josh just nicked it. A lot of people thought it could have gone the other way, but I thought Josh just nicked the first fight. But it was very close, very close. I thought Josh done enough. But I certainly, if I was looking after Josh, I'd be chasing the unifications over another fight with Barry for sure.
But I think that's why they might not move it. Because when you look, we're in the middle of a pandemic, nobody can travel fully. There's all these foreign judges, foreign officials. You're talking about a unification. You've got 2 British kids who can have all British officials. It can be done quick. If they say, yeah, we'll give it an exception, when's unification happening?
That's true also. I'm sorry I lost you there, Rich, but yeah, no, that's true also, where they might think, well, no, it'd be much easier for you to get that done with.
Title
obviously
active, moving.
What's that, Rich?
It keeps title active and keeps it moving, doesn't it? How long is it going to be sat?
That's what might happen. Like I say, we don't know what's going to go on in the world, but yeah, no, definitely. We'll see what happens now with that. But I think, like you say, I think you can make a case for both fighters. If it was Josh and his team, I would be chasing the other fights. If it was Barry, I think no, I want the rematch. So I get where both. I've seen there's been a bit of back and forth on social media between them. I don't think there's too much love lost, is there? But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'd be a good fight. I mean, but do you know what? And that's kind of crazy that while this is going on, we've had Dubois and Joe Joyce spawned. We've got Callum, Billy Joe, and Ryder, no fight. Kellen Khan can't fight. Warrington don't want to fight. These are all big fights that we made now in Britain, and we're all British kids. It's half nuts, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's mad, but I think, like you say, I don't know whether you feel those fights need a live gate. However, they're all big fights that still can be made, and hopefully you think it could make sense, whether it be TV numbers or box office numbers with some of them.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So we'll see what happens this weekend, and then we'll catch up next week.
We'll do it.
Before we jump off, you're going Dillian White. I'm going Beck.
Are you going inside the distance?
Yes. I don't think it'll go to points. That's right.
I think Dillian just after the halfway stage.
Boy, I'm not being as specific as you, because I don't know bad if I get it totally wrong, do I?
I'll see. I called a few right last week. Did we? I don't know. With the last count, I don't ever call them on air though, so it don't count.
No, that don't count. That you can't claim what you haven't gone and put down on record.
All
right, and we'll see you next week.
See you later, Rich. See you later, pal.
Top man.